Hey everybody, this is Pastor Tyler Baker from Valiant Baptist Church, and we are located in the Jacksonville, Florida area. Now, I am coming to you with a quick response video to Steven Anderson's recent video about the upcoming preaching conference that I'm hosting here at Valiant Baptist Church. And in particular, I want to address the accusations, the false accusations that were made against a guest that I've invited to come preach at the conference. And that's Pastor John Koletas. Now, the false accusations that were made against Pastor Koletas is that he is a racist in the traditional sense of the word. And I'm going to get to what Pastor Koletas believes here in just a minute. But I wanted to start by clearing the air and going ahead and making a clear statement that even what Pastor John Koletas does believe in regards to race, and particularly what this has to do with is interracial marriage, I adamantly disagree with him about this. And I expressed this to him after I had found out that he had believed it in the first place. Now, I became aware of it from Steven Anderson and from his goons and their little mafia that they have, their little small clique and cult that's getting smaller and smaller as the days go on. Now, of course, the reason why this is brought up in the first place is because Pastor Steven Anderson has a personal vendetta against me. You know, I'm his arch enemy, if you will, and it angers him to see that we're doing well at Valiant Baptist, that we're adding new members to the church, that we're having a preaching conference, and that we're still serving God. He wants to destroy me, he wants to destroy the ministry, and he wants to destroy Valiant Baptist. But let me go ahead and tell you this, Steve, it's never going to happen, so you're wasting your time. Now, because of his hatred for me, he's tried to discredit the preaching conference and discredit John Koletas, thereby discredit me. So that is basically why he went on the hunt to try to twist anything that Pastor Koletas had said. And because he has this bias, he's just looking for anything that he can twist. Just like how the media has agendas and they twist things that people say and leave things out and contort stuff. He's a liar, and that's what's going on here. And so let me get into actually what Pastor Koletas believes. Now, first let me go ahead and tell you what he does not believe. Pastor Koletas does not believe that one race is superior to another race. Let me tell you something else that Pastor Koletas does not believe. Pastor Koletas does not believe that one race is inferior to another race. These are things that Pastor Koletas does not believe. Now let me tell you what Pastor Koletas actually does believe. And this is what I disagree with him about. Pastor Koletas believes that it is ideal if people marry within their kind or within their race. He does not believe that interracial marriage is what's best in the world and what God would have for us. Now, I disagree with that adamantly. I don't believe that that's biblical. I don't believe that, that makes any sense for multiple reasons logically. Another one of the statements that they took out of context, but from Pastor John Koletas, is the fact that he made a statement that, because he's Greek, Greeks are better than others. This was a joke. It was very obvious that he was being facetious, and they sound like an idiot to try to act like he was being serious. When you go and listen to it, it's very obvious that he is kidding. He had just preached a sermon that Greeks are cursed like a few weeks before he had made the statement. And they took, another sermon that he had preached where he said blacks are cursed, right? That was the title of the sermon. And they're like, see, he hates black people. He just preached a sermon right before that. As I said, Greeks are cursed. He is a Greek. He just preached a sermon prior to that too that said Jews are cursed. So that's obviously not the point. He's obviously not saying all blacks are inferior to all other races and Greeks are the best when he just said the same statement while he's Greek about Greeks. So they basically tried to paint this narrative that he's like this raging racist against black people. When it's so ridiculous because the guy, if you look up his church, he's got multiple members in his church that are black. I've heard the guy's son-in-law is black. He's got video of him fellowshipping with black people. He's got videos with him soul winning with black church members at his church. He's got video of him street preaching with black people at his church. It's the most ridiculous statement ever. And because of his views on interracial marriage, he's had people try to say he's racist. So he's got an open invitation or open challenge to anyone, any independent Baptist in the United States of America, because he said, I bet I've had more black people preach behind my pulpit than any other pastor in any independent Baptist church in the United States of America. The guy, very clearly states that he loves black people in the beginning of the sermon of blacks are cursed. He was preaching a series about how all the nationalities are cursed. And he knew that he was going to get flack about it because people are so sensitive when it comes to the race issue in the United States of America. So these are all just a bunch of lies of people twisting things and trying to attack him for statements that he has made and trying to make it out to be that he believes things that he does not believe. Now, like I said, I disagree with him on the subject of interracial marriage. But the guy is not a racist in the traditional sense of the word. He just believes that people, it would be best even. He's not even hardcore against it. He just says he believes that it would be best if people married within their own race, in his words. But that is what he believes. Now, that is not grounds to disfellowship from someone. That is not grounds to disinvite him from the preaching conference. I know for a fact that Pastor Stephen L. Anderson's, even his own father, has racial tendencies, and he believes he is against interracial marriage and things like that, and he told me about that. I've heard that Stephen Anderson and his wife even would prefer for their children to marry, within their race. And Stephen Anderson has got a lot of nerve and a lot of gall with what's going on lately with his kids to get out here and still so hypocritically with this huge beam sticking out of his own eye. He wants to come and try to, take this little speck out of somebody else's eye. His kids were just calling black people the N-word over text messages and calling Hispanics the S-word, a couple of different times. And, I've been very silent about this because, I didn't want to bring any of it up, but he's such a stinking hypocrite, he needs to be called out on this. His kids are just, sending back and forth these horribly perverted, disgusting messages. Aaron Thompson's son as well, just the most, they're not PG-13. Stephen Anderson is PG-13. I have the stinking 500 megabyte file on my computer, and it is far from PG-13. They would never allow any of that kind of talk in a PG-13 movie. Some of it's like sadistic, dark stuff that's like on the dark web. It's filthy and disgusting type of garbage that they were talking. Sodomite stuff, hopefully jokes, sodomite stuff about each other. Just Stephen Anderson and his sons are listening to rap music. One of them's claiming to have gotten high 3 times. I'm talking like horrible stuff. And this dude is so stupid that he thinks that he's going to try to point out that one guy that's coming to the preaching conference, thinks that it's ideal for whites to marry whites and blacks to marry blacks. Are you kidding me? Dude, you got a lot bigger problems at home. And if you live in a glass house, I wouldn't be throwing rocks. That's probably not a very wise decision to be made to start attacking people like this when you got such a glaring problem in your own life. So here's the thing. Stephen Anderson is a liar. Stephen Anderson, anyone that, ever critiques or says anything bad about Stephen Anderson, he goes after them full force and he lies about what they believe, just like he's lied about what I believe about the Trinity. And, he's lied about, all these other people that have, split from him. And because of that, he's doing far more, bad for the cause of Christ than good. Look at what he's done to the new IFB, the great works that the new IFB was done, and look at where it's at today. And Stephen Anderson, he still doesn't realize, that it's him. If the whole world stinks, maybe it's you, Stephen Anderson. Look at all the different pastors and people that have split from him. His own deacon left, obviously. You have Garrett Kirchway, who was his next right-hand man. He left. You have Dominique Davis, who left after that, who was his singer and all these other things, ran the biggest soul winning time at the church. He also preached at FWBC North. Then all the pastors that have split from him. You got so many different pastors that have split from him. You have Pastor Boyle, you have Pastor Perry, Pastor Major, Pastor Fritz, I believe it is, in Tennessee. You have Pastor McCraney, Pastor Coleman. You have Pastor Tomlinson. You have Pastor Michael something from North Carolina. You have the Pastor DeLello. I mean, I'm sure I'm even missing people. And this is just in like 2 years. But everybody else is the problem. Everybody else is the reprobate just trying to sneak into Stephen Anderson's church. Dude, you got major problems. And I would stop trying to focus on, our little preaching conference that we're having here and focus on your problems that you have in your house, because you are majorly and miserably failing as a parent, it sounds like, in your own home, which is very sad. And I was disheartened to hear that. And if it wasn't for your just major hypocrisy, I would never have made it public. I have the stinking file sitting on my computer. I could have came out with this a long time ago. And but I didn't, because I love Steven Anderson. I love, the church. I think he is a complete hypocrite. I think he's got some major problems, and he lacks mercy, and he lacks compassion and charity. I think he's wrong about some things majorly, and a lot of different things. But you know what? I don't want, what's bad for Steven Anderson. I want what's best for Steven Anderson. And what he needs is a stinking wake-up call. And obviously his kids getting deep into sin wasn't a big enough wake-up call for him. So I don't know what it's going to take. He's going to end up falling on his own sword ultimately. And all of these stinking, followers like Ben the Baptist, and all these just blind morons that just repeat everything that Steven Anderson says, just like how Saul's armor bearer fell on his sword too, that's what they're going to do too. Ben the Baptist is just going to die he'd rather die with Steven Anderson and just, ride that stinking thing right off the cliff. So I want to make a video, and I'm going to make some other videos responding to Steven Anderson as of late. It's time to call him out on his wickedness. He's doing a lot of bad things for the cause of Christ. And I've been silent for too long, but he's done a lot of harm for the cause of Christ, and he needs to be called out on it. So God bless you, and have a good day.